Manifestation Pod. We are Louise and Sam, two ordinary mums living extraordinary lives through friendship, self-improvement, manifestation, the law of attraction, and a little bit of the magic. We look forward to you joining us on our fortnightly podcast.
Hello and welcome to episode 32 of the Manifestation Pod with me, Sam Fillingham, and Louise Marshall. Hi, Louise.
Hi, how are you?
I am good, thank you. Yeah, enjoying the sunshine this morning in my warm conservatory.
Nice. We've not got any here. It's really, really misty.
Oh.
Yeah, very misty over the hills. I can barely see anything out of the window.
Oh, how funny. It's usually me that's misty, rainy, weird. Oh, so how have you been since the last pod? Should we have a little catch up?
Yeah, let's have a little catch up. In fact, you go first because my catch up is going to lead directly into what we're talking about today.
Well, that makes more sense then, doesn't it? How have I been the last 2 weeks? Yeah, all right. I've had a weird week. I feel like the full moon this last week really affected my energy massively. So I've been really low energy, which has been difficult to traverse. I've got a kid doing GCSEs, which is equally difficult to traverse. So yeah, it's been a bit of a heavy-ish 2 weeks, it feels like. But yeah, we're at half term now. The sun's out, so it feels like there's a bit of light relief coming this week, a bit of a break from the norm, which always helps balance things back out again, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I'm just looking out the window, so I can't see anything now, but it's absolutely throwing it down. So we're yin and yang with the weather this morning. It's just horrific.
Oh my goodness, we really are, aren't we? That's bizarre. How bizarre. So yeah, there was like it was a Sagittarius full moon on Thursday, and my star sign, sun sign, is Sagittarius. So it just the energy effects really, really hit me. So yeah, that was a bit meh this week. I've spoken to quite a few people whose energy was quite low this week as well. So it feels like a bit of cosmic energy lowness going on. But by Friday, once the full moon had passed, my energy started to pick up again. So yeah, all good. Starting to work on some more changes with the Yoga Nidra business and stuff today as well. So
exciting.
Changing up some of the class times, and I've got a little new program. So looking forward to doing a bit of work on that this bank holiday.
That's good. I've not done any work whatsoever. I've not done any work for ages. I'm very much not in work mode at the moment.
That's all right, isn't it? It's not the work era at the moment.
No, it's definitely not. Actually, I wrote a chapter for my book yesterday because I've decided that I've done nothing with it, so I'm going to do something with that. So I did do that just because I had an idea and I was feeling quite creative. But other than that, I've done absolutely nothing. I've not posted on any social media in ages. Yeah, I've done nothing. I don't even care. That's where I am at the moment. I don't care.
Why not? I did tell you a highlight of my week last week that I've just remembered. I do like a fair bit of networking with the charity, and when I'm there, obviously talking about different spiritual things and the podcast and stuff. And I met some really interesting people this week, and I've already told you this, so apologies, Louise, if you're already bored of hearing it. I met someone that does this amazing practice called family constellations, which I'm going to read a bit from their leaflet because I find it really hard to explain, but I am equally fascinated by it.
Oh, hang on then. So I've had a bit of a funny week where my brain is not working.
Yeah.
So this is what you sent me a text message about.
Yes.
So why did I think it was a Netflix drama?
Because there is a Netflix drama.
Oh, okay, it is a right, okay. That's good. Okay.
When I met this person,
I was really, really confused then for a second. Right, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, they real life met Netflix. So I met this person. She's called Lucy Asham. And she was telling me that she does family constellations. And as soon as she said it, my mind was already blown. But then when she started explaining it, and then I watched a Netflix series, it just got even more blown. So, family and systemic constellations, a powerful therapeutic approach that helps individuals gain insight into their family dynamics, personal issues, and life challenges.
Ooh.
I know. And in the participants in a workshop represent family members or elements of a problem by creating a living 3D map of the individual's system. And through this process, hidden dynamics and entanglements often come to light, offering a deep understanding of the issues at hand and steps towards healing.
Wow.
I know. So, I mean, watch the Netflix series. I think it's called Another Life.
Just write that down.
But yeah, you basically work with, I guess they're kind of like an energy healer. You work with them, and then there's other people in the workshop that represent the problem or the people. And then they just sort of connect to the energy around that problem and help you heal from it. I'm not explaining it very well, but it's just so interesting, so mind blowing that there's all these practices and things out there that can help you work on stuff without, I don't know, taking your entire family to a therapy session, thrashing it out in a really awkward, horrible way.
That sounds good. I might give that a watch.
Yeah, so there you go. That's my interesting highlights of last week.
Love it. I like it when we meet new people and like learn new things, that there's a whole new world that we knew nothing about.
Yeah, absolutely. And this separate networking session I went to, I bumped into a lady that practices like Chinese medicine. And randomly, about 18 months ago, I met her at a menopause fair that I went to. And I think I might have told you, she put these like magnetic dots on my ear, and she helped me like uncover this pain in my shoulder that I'd completely forgotten was there.
I do remember.
Yeah, so I bumped into her, and she started her own practice now.
Oh, wow.
I have a coffee with her as well. So, and she sent me a lovely message afterwards. She's called May, just saying, I think the universe said put us together for a reason again. Like, let's catch up.
Absolutely. Is she the one who made like a suture for you? Is that the right word? Did she make you a tea or something that
The tincture.
tincture, that's it, not suture. That's something completely
No, that is the medicinal herbalist, the Kath
different.
Cousins at Woodside Apothecary. So yeah, another different practice. I just, I don't you think it's mind blowing at the moment, and since the pandemic, I think so many of us ladies are finding these different practices and passions and businesses and moving into them. It just seems to be like a whole raft of them, and I love it.
Yeah, me too. I'm noticing that. And I think since the pandemic, I don't know psychologically what happened during the pandemic, but I do think a lot of people were like, um, it stripped back, didn't it? You were doing nothing. You were just in your home with your family, doing very little and just being in contact with a few close friends. Your circle, like, really depleted. There was like everything was stripped away to no bullshit. If you didn't get on with people or you weren't happy in your life, it was really stark. And I think lots of people have just taken something from that and thought, I'm not happy with this element of my life. And mainly it seems to be work for a lot of people. So they've gone to do something different and find their path. And that's really good. It's it's a shame it takes a pandemic for that to happen. But I think everything was just stripped bare and laid back to basics because you didn't have all the material stuff of buying cars and buying clothes and shopping and eating out and all the stuff that we do to kind of fill gaps in our lives. There was none of that available. So all you were left with was the really important stuff. And if that important stuff wasn't right, then yeah, I think it shone a light on it massively. And people made changes as a result of that, which we both did. I don't think we were on Were we on a journey? Oh my God, when did this start? Was it before or after the pandemic?
Oh, it was way after. It was like
Was it?
2023.
Do you know, I've got absolutely no sense of time at the moment. Yeah, so it was after. And I don't feel like it was as a direct result of the pandemic because, as we talked about last week, I didn't have such a bad time during the pandemic at all compared to a lot of people. And for that, I'm grateful. But yeah, I think for a lot of people it did, and that's why they've made changes. I think we just evolved, didn't we? It was just the right time. I mean, we've always had these conversations, we've just never really done anything tangible about it, and now we have. I don't feel for us it was a result of the pandemic at all, but maybe, I don't know, maybe somewhere deep down it might have been. But yeah, there's definitely a movement at the moment of women just not accepting shit anymore. I'm really seeing that on social media, and I know that what you follow, you get more of. But I'm definitely seeing a lot of boundaries
Mm.
and people being really strict with the boundaries, myself included, in all areas of the life, like love, work, family, friends, just not putting up with stuff that doesn't make you happy. I mean, I've always been like that. I'm snippety snip if something or someone isn't making me happy. I just cut them off. I don't care really. I know that sounds really harsh, but it's just my makeup. It's the way I do things. But even I'm getting more and more brutal with things that aren't serving me well. I'm not apologising for it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel the same. I'm getting so protective of my energy and space that, yeah, I just won't put up with anything and I won't apologize or justify or like overly explain it. I think in the past, I've not had very good boundaries in the past. And if I did put one in place, I'd feel so guilty about it that I would overly explain it and justify
Yeah.
it, probably not hold to it either. And now I'm just like, no, that's not for me, thanks. And just, yeah, not accepting it.
Yeah, and that's very freeing, isn't it, to have that? It feels like a weight. I feel like that. And even though people who know me probably don't think I do feel bad about things, but I do. But lately, not so much. I just think, no, if you're not serving me, you're gone. And I don't feel guilty about that anymore, like not one little bit.
Yeah.
If it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. It's not my job to make people feel better about their bad behaviour that's led to my decision.
Yeah, exactly. I was listening to a podcast about like energy vampires, you know, those people who
Ooh.
just like zap you of any energy. And I think it was a psychologist, and she was saying that, there are just some people that will gravitate towards people that don't have good boundaries or will accept their crap. And they kind of do it not always consciously, but they're aware that they're doing it and they'll just keep doing it. As long as you keep giving to them, they'll keep coming for it. So, yeah, just don't put up with it, basically, because it's not a case of like, oh, well, they've had a hard time or a difficult childhood or they've got this wrong with them. She's like, sometimes some people just really want to zap your energy because it's so good, and they don't really care about that. That's, and they're always going to do it as long as you accept it. So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, there's definitely something to be said for that. I don't think I've got any energy vampires. I've got people that are occasionally a bit of a mood hoover, but um, yeah, I try and just deal with that. That's just one element of somebody,
yeah,
not the whole element. So that's fine. And I just don't get drawn into that really.
yeah. I've got like one legacy one, who I have cut off, but occasionally creeps back in. So I've just done another extra cutting off. So I'm hoping that's the end of it. And I hope I've learned enough from that last one to not accept them into my life anymore. because classically I have always given people a million chances. And I just know that I won't do that anymore because I'm protecting that energy much earlier on in knowing people.
Yes. Yeah. Funnily enough, I've just had a very similar experience with that. I've just cut somebody off who, very quickly, because it just wasn't aligning with me. Bye
It
bye.
blocks you like working or achieving anything good when you've got like some bigger element of negative energy that you're just letting linger.
Absolutely, it does, and you're spending your valuable time thinking about that. And I think people like that, depending on how severe it is, you spend a lot of time and energy on.
Yeah.
And while you're spending that time and energy on something that's very negative, and sometimes as well, and I think oh gosh, I really have to be careful not to take on other people's stuff. So I've been in situations with friends, one fairly recently, where she's having a bad time. And honestly, it makes me ill to listen to it. I feel physically ill. And I've had to really, really remove myself. I mean, we're still friends, we'll always be friends. But certain situations that she faces, I can't be the person who can listen to it forevermore. I know that sounds really horrible, but I just can't. It does make me feel physically ill. So you do have to distance yourself in some ways and protect your own energy, because that energy as well, once you get it back, you can use that for lots of useful things and helpful things. And I don't want to sound like we're really like selfish people who don't do anything for anybody, but actually, once you remove yourself from that kind of negativity and toxic thought patterns, you can help someone in a more practical way. You can do fun stuff with them to take their mind off something rather than just being that person that they're offloading to constantly.
Yeah, yeah. And it's I'm sure it's Abraham Hicks and it's something that I listen to like all the time, kind of affirmations, but it talks about like observing problems and not being so wrapped up in problems so you can like be of use to moving on from the problems. And it's kind of like that, isn't it? If you get sucked into someone's like really negative energy, you're not a useful observer and helpful in that situation. You're just in it with them and
Yeah.
can't move on from it. So yeah, especially if it's making you feel sick, like you've just got to listen to your body and trust that, haven't you?
Yeah, my body really does react to anything kind of emotional. It's the first thing that happens. I can literally throw up when, if you hear like something really devastating news, anything like that, I will be sick.
Yeah.
Like straight away, my body just reacts to anything really, really negative or, yeah, strange.
My body started reacting to negative things on TV, like any kind of like quick, nasty violence, like a gunshot in a film or anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's lit. My body is literally like physically reacting to it now. So I'm having to find. I'm really like starting to limit what I can ingest TV wise, and I love TV, but yeah, it's funny. The more you work on stuff, the more like your body and your nervous system starts to react quicker.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it really does. And that's something new that, something's wrong. It's wrong. Move away from it.
Yeah, exactly. We've gone off on a complete tangent, but an interesting one, haven't we?
Well, I'll tell you about my week because it kind of also adds to this negativity. So I have had a shit week. There's no other words for it. So I'll give you a little bit of a synopsis, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. So last weekend, in fact, the week before that, the cat was ill. So the cat's not been feeling great, didn't look great, took him to the vets. The vet said he had cystitis and potentially he was constipated. I was laughing at the time, like when I got the bill, for my constipated cat. Brought him home. over the weekend, last weekend, he wasn't great. It wasn't worse, he just wasn't getting better. So I thought on the weekend, I thought if it's no better, I'm going to take him Monday morning back to the vet. So I did. I rang up at 8:30, made an appointment for 11, took him to the vets. He was a bit off his food. He just looked fed up, basically. So I took him to the vets. I said, he was here last week. It doesn't seem any better. I can't get the medicine down him. He had 2 lots of medicine. The cystitis medicine I couldn't give him because you had to give him with food and he really wasn't eating. But the pain relief I was giving him. But I just didn't see much of a difference. Anyway, the vet said, we're going to run some tests, but do you want to wait? I was like, yeah, that's fine. So I waited in the waiting room and he came back and said he was anemic. So something about your white blood cells should be 40 to 50% and Bobby's were 4%. So he was severely anemic. So the vet said, we need to do an emergency blood transfusion, but we've not got blood at our hospital. I'm going to ring round. Can you get on Google and you ring round? I was like, I don't even know who to ring. So I ended up ringing this vets in Bury, this hospital, and they said, yeah, we can do it, but you need to get your vet to ring us to tell us like what his condition is and what the symptoms are and what the results are. So long story short, they did some other tests, and so I was in the vets basically from 11 o'clock till 2:30. So at 2:30, I said to the vet, I need to go and pick my daughter up from school. So he said, right, go and get your daughter. I'd had nothing to eat. Go and get something to eat. Come back, and I'll make an appointment for him at Bury at about 4:30. So I was like, yeah, that's fine. So he said once he has the transfusion, it's a risky operation, but once he has it, obviously his cell count will improve. So I was like, right, okay. I didn't ask how much it was at this point. I didn't think I needed that kind of negativity in my life. So when I got Charlotte from school, told her the cat was ill, but said, and she was like, oh my God, is he going to die? So I said, no, he's ill at the moment, but when he has this little operation, he'll be absolutely fine. So went back to the vet, picked the cat up, got some food en route, went to this other vet's in Bury. Went in, saw this lady vet. She was so nice. To me and Charlotte were sat down. So she said to me, I've not really had a proper conversation with your vets, but do you understand the situation? So I said, yeah, he's anemic. He needs to have a blood transfusion. So she was like, well, yeah, there is that. But also, he's got a marker for leukemia. So we can give him a blood transfusion. But realistically, after he's had it, it's only going to relieve him for 24 to 48 hours. And then we need to do diagnostics for this leukemia to see how bad it is. So I was like in complete shock. Charlotte was sat there. So I burst into tears. Charlotte was mortified because she's at that age. She gets really embarrassed. I mean, she never sees me cry anyway. I'm not really a crier. But I burst into tears. And I just said, why did the vet not tell me this? I've been with the vet all day. So she said, well, he should have explained it to you really. This blood transfusion is not going to fix anything. It's just going to fix how he is at the moment. But that is just a symptom of the bigger thing. And we need to get to the bottom of the bigger thing. So then she tells me that it's £2,500 for the blood transfusion and it's £6,000 for diagnostics afterwards. So I'm thinking, oh, shit, that's like a huge amount of money. So then I'm racking my brains to think, can I afford it? So the insurance will probably take care of the first 2,500. And then I'm thinking, I just won't do any work on the house for the next 3 years and I'll just, I'll pay it. It's fine. It is what it is. So I said to her, right, okay, so if we do the transfusion today, you're saying it'll be okay, like 24, 48 hours. And she was like, well, it's just going to give him an extra 24, 48 hours and we can do the diagnostics within that time period as well. And then she just said, I think it'd be kinder to put him to sleep. And I just wasn't expecting that at all.
Yeah.
And I said, now I might actually cry saying this. And she said, yeah. And I said, but I thought it was going to be fine. I would not have taken Charlotte with me if I knew the conversation was going to go like that. Oh, God, it was awful. So anyway, we had like half an hour with him in the room.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't think I've ever cried on the pod. We had half an hour with him in the room and yeah, we just had to say goodbye to him. Then Charlotte didn't want to be there while he was actually put to sleep. Oh my God, the vet was so nice. She was such a young girl and she was so very like you, very softly spoken. She was just so calm and I was so in such a state.
Yeah.
And anyway, I gave him a really nice cuddle.
Mm.
And then she put the needle in. And he died like within about a second. And she said, he must have been really, really poorly to die that quickly. Oh my God, it was so sad.
Yeah, that is so sad. Do you want to take a break?
No, I'm all right.
Yeah.
I've not cried since that was Monday, about Wednesday or Thursday. I'm okay now.
Yeah.
It's just when I talk about that bit, it was just, it's awful.
Yeah, super shocking, especially if the other one didn't prepare you.
No, he didn't at all. And I just felt like he was a bit poorly. He wasn't that ill. That's how I felt. And it was just all so quick. And so it was just bloody horrible.
Yeah, that is. And especially, I know they say cats have 9 lives, but I mean, Bobby jumped out the window.
No.
And turned the corner after that, didn't they? So
I know. It was such a characterful cat. It was so gorgeous. It was so lovely. So yeah, it's been a really shit week. So then we came home and then we just cuddled, me and Charlotte. She wasn't as upset as I am. I don't know, she's much more pragmatic about these things. She was upset for a while, then she kind of was like back to normal. But I felt upset for a good few days. But the good thing that came out of it, so our old cat Daisy died less than 2 years ago. I mean, Daisy was really old and it was always an inevitability. But when Daisy died, I was upset as well. But it literally took me a week to get over it. I was borderline hysterical. And I think part of that was because Matthew was with me. And even though, oh my God, he was so amazing, he was like a rock, he buried her in the garden. This time round, I was completely on my own. And I did have a split second. It wasn't even a split second, it was longer than that, if I'm being honest. I wanted to ring him. I just wanted someone to make it better, make me feel better. And I felt like I couldn't cry as much as I wanted to cry in front of Charlotte. I was literally dying for her to go to bed so I could just really, really cry. But I thought, I can't do that. I can't ring him. I didn't really want to speak to anyone either. I'm not very good at speaking to people when I'm, upset. I'm all right after the event.
Yeah.
So I just thought, I'm just going to have to deal with it. So Charlotte went to school the next day. I was kind of expecting her to want to stay off, but she didn't even want to stay off. And I think it was good that she went to school. I wasn't in work the next day anyway. Oh God, it was just a horrible day. The house, I mean, it's a cat. It doesn't make that much noise, but Jesus, the house is so quiet. So Charlotte was at school. Bobby wasn't there. And the house, even now, it's just so weird. I don't like it at all. I know I'll get used to it, but what I didn't do, I was supposed to be out on the Wednesday night with my friend, and I planned to just get leathered. I thought I'm just going to drink. But then as Wednesday came round, I just thought, I feel like shit. If I drink, I'm going to feel worse. I always feel drinking with me sometimes is a bit like picking a scab when I'm in the moment of needing some comfort, or I'm doing it to, when people self-harm, sorry if this is triggering for anyone, and I've never self-harmed, but I've read about people self-harming, and they say that it releases something in them so they can feel something. I feel a bit like that with alcohol sometimes. When things are not going well, I always feel like if I get drunk and then I've got a horrible hangover to deal with, it kind of releases some of that. It makes that pain a little bit more physical rather than emotional. But anyway, I just decided first of all that I wasn't going to drink, and then I decided that I wasn't even going to go out. So I just stayed in on my own on Wednesday. Charlotte was at her dad's as usual on the Wednesday, and yeah, I just had a really sad night where I cried a lot and I felt really miserable. And I actually went to bed at 9 o'clock, which is unheard of, but I was exhausted. I was so tired. But then Thursday when I woke up feeling so much better. I mean, I was still sad, but I didn't feel quite as bad as I did the day before. So I feel like all the work that we've done, all the books we've read, all the conversations we've had, I feel like however shit this week has been, and it has been awful, I feel like I dealt with it in the right way. And I know I've just got upset now, but that's literally because I was talking about it. And it's a sad thing to talk about, but I don't feel like I need to cry now. I feel like I've really got it out of my system.
Like you actually felt the feelings.
Absolutely. I did feel them and it was horrible. And then, when life throws you a curveball. So then we were getting towards weekend. Obviously, it's a bank holiday weekend. And then Henry, Charlotte's dad, rang me on, I think it was Friday night, and said, oh, yeah, sorry, bitlastminute.com, but we're going away for the weekend. Can we have Charlotte for the weekend? And I was dead annoyed. Usually I'm always flexible. I always think, what would Charlotte prefer to do? And actually spending the weekend with her dad and her cousins and they've gone to the seaside is obviously going to be better than spending a weekend at home. I get that. But I just felt like this weekend was not a weekend I needed to be alone at all. And it's just happened. I mean, I've had stuff to do. We're going away next week. The house is upside down. So I've done loads of practical things. But ideally, this would not have been a weekend. And I do feel quite miserable now, but I think some of that is I've just literally spent the entire weekend pretty much on my own through choice. But yeah, but even that I think has made me, usually I would have like gone out and had plans and stuff, but I've just had a shit week and now a shit weekend, but I'm still dealing with it. I'm fine. It is what it is. I'm not feeling the need to overcompensate by ring everyone and say, right, I'm on my own this weekend. What can I do to fill it up, fill it up? And I think I've been guilty of that in the past. If I feel anything like painful, I just distract myself with going out, seeing friends, having lunch. Nothing destructive, but it's still filling a bit of a void. And sometimes you just need to feel things. So yeah, that's where I am. I'm very much feeling things. But she's back tomorrow, and I've got plans with you tomorrow, which we had anyway, like regardless of her going away. And then we're going on holiday next weekend, so that's good. But yeah, it's been a difficult week.
Yeah, it sounds it. I'm like so proud of you, if that doesn't sound weird, like of you giving yourself space for those feelings and to let them in, because I know, knowing you so well, how hard that is.
It is really hard, and it would have been like if I'd have gone out on Wednesday night and just got leathered and just drank and drank, which is has always been my way of dealing with things, really, and it's destructive. It's not good at all. I think drinking is. I say it's my only vice. I don't even drink that often, but I think in times of stress, I definitely use it as the quickest way, as a crutch to deal with something. But what I did do on Tuesday morning when I got up and I dropped Charlotte at school, I went swimming, and I normally do like 30 lengths, 32 lengths. I did like 40, and I just swam and swam and swam, and that felt really good.
Yeah,
It relaxed me and it kind of burnt a bit of energy, but not in a manic way, just because I swim really slowly. Yeah, that was quite good as well. So I do feel, I wouldn't say proud of myself, but my two crutches that I always would have turned to would have been Matthew and alcohol. And I haven't done either of those things. And it would have been really easy to do either of them
of course it would. Yeah,
in the
absolutely.
short term, but not in the long term. And I think that's what I was thinking about. Like, yeah, it's a shit week, but once this week's over, it's over.
Yeah, yeah,
It's done. It's gone, and it will just be a sad time.
yeah. And do you think that's because like you developed some really good habits that you could call upon instead of the old habits?
Yeah. So I think just feeling it is definitely a new habit that is quite alien to me, but I really did do that. But I think the other habits that I do now is I'm really healthy at the moment, like physically healthy. I'm eating really well and have been doing for quite a long time. Several people have told me in the last month I'm glowing, which I find bizarre. But yeah, my skin's really good, and I think it's just down to my diet. And I'm exercising more because it's summer, and I always do in summer. Excuse me. And I felt like in that moment, I didn't want to undo all the hard work I've done.
Yeah.
So I think the drinking alcohol, I mean, it wouldn't have been a big deal. I'd have got drunk, I'd have had a hangover, but then I would have still had to deal with the upset of Bobby after that.
Yeah.
Whereas I've just been upset without a hangover and it's been fine. And I think with the Matthews situation, I think in the past, God, I've had some real like revelations this week, but I think I'm not saying I use partners, but in times of need, I feel like I need someone to rely on and to pull me through it. But if that person isn't the right person, then that's just going to lead to a whole pile of shit after the event. Because when I'm done grieving,
Yeah.
you're then potentially in a relationship that you know isn't right and you know isn't working, and that's not fair to anybody. So I think that has been a real like change this week that I've not done that. That's very big because I think me and Matthew have got together and split up on several occasions because I think we both know deep down it isn't right. I might have instigated it, but I think he does know that. And I think when he finds somebody else, which he probably already has knowing him, I think, and that person's the right person, he will realise that as well.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I suppose going through something so difficult last week and not leaning on things in the past that you would have done, like, is kind of a really massive development because now,
Yeah,
the worst has happened and I got through it, and all I
yeah,
needed was myself and the good
yes.
things in my life to get through it.
And I do feel like that. I did feel like that. I did feel like maybe not proud, maybe that's too strong a word, but I did feel like good for you.
Yeah.
Like, well done for not doing that, Lou, because that's probably the first time recently. And I think as much I've had crutches in the past that haven't been healthy at all. I mean, not recent past, like long before I had Charlotte. And I think now for the first time ever, I've dealt with something with no crutch whatsoever. So I think it's always been in the recent past alcohol. And although I don't drink a lot, sometimes I drink in a very destructive way. But I think what's overtaken that has been this relationship that I've been in for 3.5, 4 years that I know isn't right. But when things go wrong, it's very easy to go back to. And I think that works both ways, I think, for him and me. Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't have had all that like clarity as well last week that you've had and that insight into it if
No.
those things that just wouldn't have come, would it? Because it would all just got masked.
Yeah, and he would have done everything. He would have dealt with, I mean, even the decision about what to do with Bobby.
Yeah.
When Daisy died, and Charlotte wasn't there when Daisy died, and when Daisy died, we had 48 hours to process she was going to die, which actually just made it even sadder because it was just 48 hours of complete sadness of me holding this cat, knowing that she'd be going in the next couple of days. But he buried her in the garden. So that was very much him doing something that, I mean, I couldn't do that. I couldn't dig a hole and bury a cat in the garden. So when Bobby died and the vet said to me, you need to think about what you want to do with him. My first thought was, well, I can't take him home and bury him in the garden because practically, how are we going to get him home? Charlotte's going to literally have to sit and hold a dead cat in the car. That's not good. That's not healthy for a child at all. And then I need to bury him. And I just thought, I physically can't do that. So we decided to cremate him and then get the ashes. Charlotte's having a piece of jewellery made out of the ashes because she wanted something to have near her. I've not really decided about that yet. But the point I'm making is I made that decision. I
Yeah.
didn't lean on someone else. Charlotte, it was a collaborative decision. I asked Charlotte what she wanted as well. And we both decided that, but it felt like a very healthy decision that I was making for the right reasons. And I did that on my own. And I think, as much as I feel like I'm this strong, independent woman, I think when I'm in a relationship, I can be really not that person. I can be really quite needy in times of stress. And I want someone to take it all away from me and make decisions for me.
Mm.
But that's not always great.
No, and actually,
Or
you make
perhaps it is if it's the right person. Sorry to interrupt. Maybe if it's the right person, maybe that's absolutely perfect. But I've
yeah.
not had that recently.
No, if it's like, I think you making those decisions is part of you like processing and accepting and dealing. And when it's handed off to someone else, you don't actually have these natural points of processing and accepting and dealing, which can make it harder. Because,
Yeah,
having to bury or make a decision about stuff like that just puts it all in your face and you've got to deal with it.
yeah,
So yeah, it's probably like healthier. And I think um, you should, I don't know, I think it'd be really nice for you to have some kind of sacred way of like thanking yourself for this last week, whether that's lighting a candle and having a bath or lighting incense and thinking about it or something. I just think that you need to give yourself a moment to be really grateful to how far you've come and what you've done
yeah,
yourself in this last week, because
yeah,
you should really honour it. It's what I'm thinking and feeling.
yeah. I do feel it. I do feel like, wow, I've done something. I mean, it doesn't sound, obviously we're all different, aren't we? But for me, that's monumental
Mm.
to actually. I always want to, in times of stress, pick up the phone and pass it on to someone else to deal with. And what we were saying before about, giving other people our problems. I didn't not ring anybody because I didn't want to offload to anyone. That wasn't it. I just felt drained by talking about it. So two people at work, Amy and Kate, both rang me
Yeah.
like that day, and I
Mm.
had quite tearful conversations with both of them, but not particularly long ones. And that was, well, I don't even know whether that was helpful, but they both rang me and I picked up the phone to both of them. But then after that, I think you rang me, my mum rang me. I just didn't want to talk to anyone because probably particularly you,
Yeah.
because you know me so well. I just felt like if I'd have got on the phone, we could have been on the phone for hours,
Yeah.
hours and hours and hours. And what does that actually serve? It doesn't always, does it, to talk about? Sometimes it's helpful to talk about things, but sometimes it really isn't. My cat died,
Yeah.
our cat died. It was really sad, as would be expected. And I was really upset, as you'd expect.
Mm.
And I just felt like, possibly for the first time ever, I just needed to deal with that on my own and myself. And
Yeah.
and I know I've cried this morning, but it's literally only because I'm talking about it. If I talk about it in that kind of detail in 6 months' time, I'll probably cry about it because it's
Yeah.
not a nice thing to go through.
No.
As anyone who's got a pet knows, it's
Mm.
bloody horrible. But yeah, it's done, and no lasting damage has been done to me as a result of consequences of me not handling that in the right way.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that has happened in the past.
Mm.
Something bad has happened, and I've dealt with it in a really, really self destructive way.
Yeah.
And that's just caused further problems later down the line, or I've then created another problem that I've delayed for a while and then had to deal with later on. And it just feels nice that I'm not in that position now.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's interesting, like all the books we read and the stuff we do and the things we work on. Sometimes you'll get to the end of a book, or I don't know, if you're working on a 30-day manifestation thing, and you'll be like, it's you know what? Not a whole lot happened, but I enjoyed it. And then actually, it's incremental, isn't it? All these things are adding up and are there for you to call upon in times like this. And sometimes that's the time that it shows up when you're least expecting it, and you're like, God, do you know what? Everything I've done has helped me in this way.
Yeah. And I think that's the first time I've ever felt that. I mean, we know about goal setting and all the stuff that isn't emotional. It's just moving on with your life and propelling forward. We know all that stuff works. I think this is the first time I've had something emotional to deal with and something that isn't positive. And all this work has helped me like massively. I do feel like all things that we do, and I do, anyone who's listening to this, read self-development books, read personal development, listen to podcasts like this, listen to podcasts about making yourself that better person, because it's really healthy and that feels so good.
Yeah, it does. It makes such a big difference. It does. When we were thinking about this topic last week, I was thinking about how a couple of weeks ago I had like physical signs of anxiety for the first time in, I can't remember how long, maybe like 4 or 5 years, maybe 4 years. Like, so I was getting like a dry mouth and like I could feel my heart racing. But I'd had that crazy work period and I was like totally overwhelmed. So it's not surprising. But what was good was that I spotted it. Like as soon as it started, I was just like, after about 6 hours of thinking, I can't quench this thirst in my mouth, I was like, oh crap, it's anxiety. Like I need to do something. I need to deal with it. And, I did. I took some time out and did that spa thing and mostly rested and, did more nidra, did more meditation, more walks, and just gave myself everything I needed until it passed. Which again, like I would never have done in the past. I might not have even spotted it in the past.
Yeah.
Certainly when like I, recovering from all the trauma stuff, like I wasn't even connected with my body in a way that I would even see or hear or know these signals. So, yeah, I've felt a similar, it's not comparable in any way, but like just things happening that aren't good, but you've having new tools to work on it and new ways to deal with it because of everything you've read about and worked on and manifested up to this point.
Yeah, it is. It's good. I do feel like the last, I don't know how long it's been, couple of years. It's just like therapy, and I'm learning new stuff all the time. You're the same. We talk about it. You can heal yourself.
Yeah.
Like you really can. And I don't want anyone who's listening to this who's been through some like horrific trauma to go, oh my God, you absolutely can't heal yourself. But I really think you can.
Yeah.
We've both had traumas that we've healed from, like deep-seated traumas that, through this work. And not that we even talk about it in any detail at all. We just talk about the work we do that makes us feel better. And like you said, you feel anxious. And my first question was going to be, physically, what did you do? You took some time out, you rested, you went to a spa. They're all very practical things you can do to feel better. Funnily enough, I felt very panicky on Tuesday. So I went for a swim, which definitely helped. And I'd not really eaten much on Monday. But on Tuesday, I thought I'm going to make something nice. So I can't remember what I made, but I made chicken soup, like homemade chicken soup. And it was so nurturing and so nice. And I put sweet potato in it. Oh my God, chicken soup with sweet potato is divine. And I felt like I was eating myself better.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Chicken soup is so healing.
Yeah, it was gorgeous. And even though I felt a niggling anxiety all day, I went for a swim, I made chicken soup. I just also accepted that your cat's just died.
Yeah.
You're going to feel like this. It's fine. Just I didn't even think about it. I just thought it'll pass. And it did. I don't even know when it passed. It was so low level. It wasn't anything. I didn't have like the dry mouth or anything like that. I just felt a little bit uneasy. And a little bit, I think I don't do well with change in the home like that. I know he was a cat, but he was a part of our family. That person's gone now, and that's difficult to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah, it is that energy of having someone else in the home, like, is massive.
Yeah, and yeah, just having him around, I really do miss him already. I miss him loads. So I was just very accepting of, instead of again trying to fight it and go, no, you need to fix yourself or not feel like this. I was just like, yeah, I feel like shit. Yeah, I feel a little bit anxious. It is what it is. It'll pass at some point. And I felt a little bit like that this weekend, but I know this is as a direct result of, I mean, I've been out.
Yeah.
I've just been doing lots of jobs this weekend. It's not been a fun weekend, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
And I'm probably bound to feel like this. Tomorrow we're out all day. Wednesday I'm in the office. It'll be gone by tonight when Charlotte comes home.
Yeah.
Not tonight, tomorrow. Yeah, it is what it is, isn't it?
Exactly. And I think you're right. Like, you can heal yourself. Like, you do need. There's loads of different therapies that will help, and if you can access them, then you should as well. But you could just pick up a book right now and start reading and working towards it, or picking up a journal even and writing. There's just so many different ways, isn't there, that you can work on healing yourself. Even that, family constellation stuff we were talking about. There's so many different ways that you can work to heal yourself. And if it's stuff that involves other people, the healing doesn't have to involve those people. It's just about you working on stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you say, there's literally probably hundreds of ways. A little bit of yoga, a little bit of Pilates, a little bit of exercise, healthy food, talking to people, finding your joy, going out and doing good things, decluttering a cupboard. There's literally loads and loads and loads of different things. Some don't, decluttering a cupboard does not sound like any kind of therapy, but oh my God, it's therapeutic. There's so many things and I think it's about like trying all these different things, finding what works for you. Because me and you are very different. You do a lot more spiritual stuff than I do. I dip in and out. I think I do more practical things and you do more spiritual things. So it's different things work for different people, but there's so much stuff out there. By reading all these books and to listen to podcasts where we talk about all these different things, crystal healing, Reiki, there's loads, isn't there? I mean, God, if you wrote a list of every single thing. Do you remember when we first talked about the pod? I actually wrote a list of all the different things we could talk about, and it went on for like 2 pages because we do so much, and some of it sticks and some of it doesn't, but overall, and then suddenly one day, like this has happened to me this week, one day, last week in our podcast, I actually made the comment, you never know what's around the corner. And this has happened the week after. I wasn't expecting it. It's been horrific. But actually, without even any thought, I didn't think, how am I going to deal with this? How am I going to get through this? It just naturally happened because of all the work we've done. It's there in the back of your mind. You might not know it's there, but you can pull on all these different things when you need it. And that is, you can't pay for that shit. Yeah, you can have therapy, but even therapy, I've had therapy. It's amazing. It's got its place. But I couldn't have had therapy this week. I couldn't have rang someone this week and said, I'm really struggling. My cat's died. I need therapy. I wouldn't have got in this week. I needed something to pull on in the moment. And that thing was at the back of my brain.
Yeah.
Because we do digest all these things that we read, whether we even are aware of it or not.
Yeah.
And you can pull that out and lean on it when you need it. And that's the good thing about everything we do. It's so healthy. Me and you are so lucky. I'm so grateful to have you and to have us and to do this, because friendship aside, this is like the healthiest thing I've ever done in my life.
I know. It's forcing us to explore so much more like in a good way, even just through conversations, not in a like, oh, I'm going to go and research this topic for the pod. It's more through the conversations and the uncovering and the like,
Yeah.
oh, maybe I should do that. And the accountability as well, like, with each other and with the pod.
Yeah.
It makes such a big difference. It's like having a massive toolkit to call upon that you
That
know.
is absolutely that was the exact sentence I was struggling for before. Yeah, it is. You just pull on it on the different aspects of it when you need it.
Yeah.
And even doing the pod like today, I was not in a good mood this morning when we logged on. I was just thinking, oh, I can't do this today.
Um,
Got too much stuff in my mind. And yet I think it's been a really good podcast. And I feel so much better.
Good. So yeah, even just recording it and talking about it, things
Yeah.
like make you feel better, don't they? And
Exactly. And after the event, if me and you had have had a conversation last week,
yeah,
if I'd have picked up when you'd rang me, this would not have been the conversation. I'd have been crying down the phone. And you would have said things like, why don't you run yourself a bath? Or why don't you? You would have been thinking, oh, I need to make her feel better because she's so, so upset. And that does then exactly what we talked about before. And I know we're good friends and I know that you would do that, but that does have an impact on you, doesn't it?
yeah,
Whereas actually, what we've done is I've dealt with it on my own. We're talking about it after the event. Yes, I got upset, but it's a very healthy discussion about how to deal with things. And this, in turn, may help you when you have a particularly bad time that you think, well, oh, actually, you will pull something from your toolkit at the back of your mind and deal with it. And the listeners might. And that's really powerful stuff. It's so good to share things, but it's good to share the good stuff, not necessarily in the moment, the sad stuff.
yeah, yeah. It's not something we frequently do, does it? Is it? And I know, like, we, the more the pod goes on, the more we overshare. But I think in a really like healthy kind of way, because this is the kind of stuff that you don't see from other people a lot of the time. So we might see this with each other, but other people might not have friendships like this, might not have people like this that will be this vulnerable. And like, I think it's good for us all to see it. I know I enjoy that from other podcasts, like the Glennon Doyle podcast, like where her sister's just been diagnosed with cancer, and they've been doing like messy middle podcasts of like sharing their feelings as they're, going through them. And as hard as that is to listen, I kind of appreciate the raw vulnerability of being part of something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's important that we do that. The good, the bad, the ugly, really.
Yeah. And we've always said that. We always said, raw and authentic. We are who we are. And God, I overshare massively on here, but I'm beyond caring now. I forget, when people go on Big Brother and say they forget the cameras are there. That's kind of what this is like, because I forget that this is a podcast. This is not just a conversation between me and you. But yeah, if it kind of helps other people, then that's good.
Yeah, exactly. And shameless plug, I have got a new program called Freedom from Trauma with
Ooh,
prisoners. I am
how
looking
coincidental.
Yeah, I'm looking to work with two people in June that want to use the practice of yoga nidra to help them find some freedom from the trauma. So
Oh,
working
that
with
sounds
them for a
interesting.
month, yeah, to find out where they could find some rest in their life, and creating them some bespoke yoga nidras to help them with rest, and working with them on accountability for rest as well. So it's unlike any other things related to trauma in therapy world. You don't have to talk about your trauma when it comes to yoga nidra, but it will help you find a little piece of freedom in your mind from the trauma. And science is showing that it's having the same effect on the brain as some of the really difficult trauma therapies. So I'm really keen to work with some people that um, want to find a little bit of space in their mind from previous traumas.
That sounds really good. I really hope you find someone like you almost need people that I don't know how to say it, but not us. People that are not as far on this journey, maybe.
Yeah, when I was thinking about it, it's kind of like I want to find me 5 years ago and say, like, you don't have to go and talk to anyone about this if you don't want to. Like, you should, because that'll help. But equally, like, you could just go and do this really gentle practice where you lie down and you're guided in a meditation, and you will heal yourself with that as well. Like, and that's not as scary and confronting and hideous, because that EMDR therapy that I did was so difficult. It prodded your trauma, it took you back there, it made you sit in it, and it rewired my brain, but it didn't heal my body, my mind, and my soul. And Yoga Nidra did, and that's what I want to do for people.
That's really good.
Yeah, hit me up at WiseHeartSam on Instagram if you want to hear more.
I love that. In a bizarre change of conversation, I'll say it really quickly because we could do a whole pod on this, but I've had a realisation this week. I feel like I want to make a difference in people's lives. And I feel like I'm not doing that with money. I don't know why I'm not, but I just don't feel like I am. And I feel like I want to explore other things. I don't know what they are. I'm going to think about that while I'm laying on the beach next week. But yeah.
Well, that's a good curiosity to have, isn't it, while you're away? Of like, what more can I add to my money coaching? It will feel more impactful because, yeah, of course, you've got more within you to share.
Yeah, I really want to help people. I still think money's the be all and end all, and once that's in place, you can help with other things. But yeah, I don't know, I'm not as drawn to it at the moment. I don't know. I do go through these phases with it, but yeah, I just feel like I've got more to give. I'm just not sure in what form that's going to take yet. But yeah, again, I'll think about it when I'm on the beach.
Have a think. Watch this space. Interested to see how that develops because, yeah, you've got loads more to give. Anyone's lucky to work with you. So, yeah, sit on the beach, chill out, and have a little think.
Oh, I can't wait.
Oh, we better end it there, haven't we? Never mind oversharing, over-recording. Oh, well, thank you for listening and being here, and we hope you enjoyed that episode. I'll put some little trigger warnings on it because it's a big one, but yeah, look after yourself. You can heal yourself. I'll put some resources in as well, so some of the good books and places to go to for things as that. Yeah, like, subscribe, share, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Manifestation Pod with me, Sam Fillingham, and Louise Marshall. Please follow, subscribe, and rate our pod. Share with friends to support two ordinary mums living extraordinary lives.